After almost 2 years of waiting, we finally have the beginning of Cobra Kai Season 6, with Part 1 featuring the first 5 episodes of the final season. The season right out of the gate is intense and is filled with so many amazing moments for all these characters. My favorite moment being from episode 3 where Tori and Sam finally admit to their wrongdoings towards each other. It was really great to see Sam finally apologizing for continuing her hatred of Tori despite Tori not being the one to steal her mother's wallet. It was also great to see some bonding moments between Johnny and Chosen, a thing that didn't get enough of a chance to shine through in Season 5. It was also great to see Miguel and Robbie getting along with each other, and even after their intense fight where it seems like they were slipping back into their old ways, they both have a deep respect for each other as fighters and as people. However, the season so far has been one of the most polarizing starts to a season yet. It's unfair to judge the season too much, but I find myself feeling more indifferent than I had been when watching the first 5 episodes of previous seasons. I do have a good feeling that many of these plot lines will get resolved, while others I feel either won't or their resolution will be a difficult pill to swallow. So the first polarizing thing, which I actually think was a good move, was flipping the script on Mr. Miyagi. We don't know the true answer to all these questions, as Ralph teased Daniel spends 13 episodes discovering the secret. With episode 15 being titled Ex-Degenerate, I have a sneaking suspicion it won't be related to Johnny, but rather Mr. Miyagi. It will be how Johnny and Mr. Miyagi are much more alike than Daniel would want to admit. There's a whole video done by Cobra Kai YouTuber Watch Party that goes into far greater detail on the theory surrounding Mr. Miyagi's backstory. I'll leave a link to that in the description of this video, but it's a great video and I recommend watching it. Flipping the script on Miyagi is a very bold move. It's just as bold, if not bolder, than what was done to Luke Skywalker in the Star Wars sequels. We had this romanticized version of what Luke Skywalker is as a person, and to see him depressed, broken, and a shell of his former self was worrying to a lot of people. The reason I think this one might not piss as many diehard Karate Kid and Mr. Miyagi's fans as much is because Miyagi had a redemption as we see it in the movies. With Luke, he had a change of heart and went to save the day at the end, but we never got to enjoy seeing Luke with a new sense of purpose and motivation. There is one worrying thing about this plotline, in that Miyagi was involved in a violent robbery. The item that was stolen in this robbery was a valuable necklace. If they go down the route that Miyagi stole his Medal of Honor, that would be one step way too far and would destroy the legacy of Miyagi. I really hope that's not the route they take, but we won't find out that answer until most likely Part 3 and probably in episode 15, and that's not coming out till early 2025. The next polarizing thing to me was Hawk. The problem with ensemble casts is that sometimes big-time characters get put to the side as the show progresses. Hawk's story seemed to be fulfilled in Season 4, as he felt like a background character for most of Season 5. Season 6, they needed to fill his character in somehow, so they had this dumb rift between Dimitri and him. The argument is something pulled straight out of Superbad, and it feels like a plot that was thrown in to give Hawk and Dimitri something to do during the duration of the season. I was always someone who defended Hawk in Season 5 and felt he wasn't entirely nerfed, rather a character that has balance issues. Season 6, though, has truly nerfed Hawk in the worst way possible. Hawk is supposed to be on a similar fighting level as Miguel and Robbie, but Miguel, Robbie, Tori, and Sam think that they're a lock for the top 4, but they never mention Hawk, even though he's on a similar fighting level as them. It felt like a slap to the face to have him shoehorned into the tournament because Tori left. Which now brings me to my next point. The tournament rules are so fucking stupid. 6 slots for an ensemble cast is way too small. There's clearly 8 fighters that deserve spots in the tournament. We have, of course, the main 4, but we also have Dimitri, Hawk, Kenny, and Devin. The other problem is the stupid captain rules. When we were told there would be team captains, I never thought it'd be the person who just fights in the finals if their dojo makes it that far. What if in the tournament a non-captain is able to take them to the top, but the captain doesn't do as well? Why should the captain get a chance to fight for their dojo when the other participants were better? I like the captain idea on paper, but I don't think it really works out here in the long run. Sometimes underdogs fight through the tournament circuit and surprises everyone. Having one person carry the load in a championship fight takes away all the tension for the tournament. Like, I was shocked when Hawk made it to the finals and beat Robbie, just like everyone else. It seemed we were destined for a Miguel versus Robbie round 2, but because we didn't know who was going to be in the finals, it made the payoff that much better. The only way there can be some suspense is if Robbie were to get injured and he has to pass the captain slot over to Miguel. Doing that will just upset people even more because everyone wants Robbie to win. They should have just made this stage of the tournament the same as the All Valley, because what's the point in fighting for the slot in the finals if you're not even going to compete in it? My final and largest complaint of this season was Robbie Keane. And I'm not saying this because I wanted Miguel to win the fight. I think Robbie winning that fight worked the best for his and Miguel's story arc in Season 6. The problem I have with Robbie is how he literally fought Sean to try to rekindle his relationship with Kenny, but then after, he doesn't share a single moment with him. Kenny was implied to be Robbie's weakness in Season 4. Kenny going astray mirrored how Johnny felt when Miguel was becoming an asshole back in Season 1. It was the main catalyst for bringing Robbie and Johnny back together. He understood what was going on with Miguel based on what happened with Kenny, because sharing many Kreese and Silver inspired lessons can turn someone into an awful human being. Robbie should have been there helping Kenny with his training. He also should have been there when Kenny shit his pants, but he isn't. Robbie loved Kenny like a little brother, but they weren't even able to write just one scene with them was really disappointing. And then we have his reaction to Tori's mom's death. This couple was the best couple this season by far. They had the spotlight way more than Sam and Miguel, and a situation like this should have led to at least one scene with them together. Tori leaves the dojo, and then Robbie is awarded the captain's headband. It feels like there was a scene that was missing here. It's missing to amplify the twist that Tori rejoined Cobra Kai, when they could have still had that twist and still shared the scene together. I have a suspicion we'll get an answer in part 2, as I feel the entire part won't just be the tournament, rather it'll intercut with certain events taking place back in the valley and hopefully some flashbacks. To me, it seems like this season has the influence of Netflix written way harder than in previous seasons. The 3-part structure feels like it was forced upon them so they can release their hit show quicker after the writers and actors strikes slowed them down. I know the creators said that this was their intention from the start, but it felt like episode 5 cut straight to the tournament, and it felt like there was at least 2 or 3 scenes that were leading up to this moment that were just missing. It felt like they needed a big hook to keep people engaged for part 2, which is a little disappointing. Again, I really hope we get a flashback to before they left in episode 6, because the one conversation with Kreese and Tori isn't enough to bring the two back together, especially with how Tori thinks of Kreese at this moment. Had Kreese escaped and they were still on good terms, then I think this would have been a little more realistic. We also just need one scene with Robbie and Tori after her mother died, but I truly think that ship has sailed and we won't be getting it. Rather, we'll get some cheap reconciliation at the tournament in episode 9 or 10 that wouldn't mean as much. Now, with all my complaints, you're probably thinking I don't like the season so far, which is not true. I think what's been set up has a lot of potential to be the best the show has to offer. I also feel that the acting has been a major improvement this season. One actor in particular, Ona O'Brien, has improved dramatically. I felt her line delivery in season 4 and 5 to be a little stilted and wooden, but her delivery has improved beyond words this season. Peyton List also shines brightest this season, especially her performance in episode 5. And I'm not just talking about her emotional breakdown at the dojo, but the scene in her mom's apartment where she has no lines is amazing. Tori was a character that I liked, then hated, then liked, then loved, and in this season, she's definitely the highlight once again. I do also think the comedy this season has been the best in the entire show, the slumber party scene with Johnny being one of the biggest highlights. In past seasons, there was a lot of comedy, but I felt like certain jokes didn't land or the humor was getting a bit stale, most notably Johnny being a dumbass montages. It didn't hit the same in season 5, but here, every Johnny being Johnny montage was hilarious and some of the best moments this show has to offer. They also somehow made Kyler likable, which is crazy. And the frat fight being actually my favorite fight this season, and the music that goes with it is very different from any other fight we've had in Cobra Kai, but I really, really like it. Season 6 gives the vibes of it maybe overstaying its welcome, but at the same time, having one more amazing story to tell. It's a weird feeling that I won't be able to shake up until the rest of the season is released, but I really hope we get something great. But these first 5 episodes make me a bit worried about what's on the line here.